Hello and welcome to F1 Daily, your daily dose of Formula One right here on the F1 Word. How are we all doing in chat? Are we all good? And hello to everybody watching as ever. Of course, great to have you with us. Loads, absolutely loads to get through tonight. I'm going to be joined by Jonty as well because I think we need to have our say on one of the main topics. It is a main topic on the thumbnail, but we're going to have to cover the big news that has come out, of course, this evening. I'm going to start by pretty much pulling Jonty straight in and saying a very good evening, mate. Thank you for joining me for this one.
Hello, everyone. It's been a lot of activity today.
It's been chaos on Twitter, trying to keep up with it all. But we now finally have some kind of, a resolution to what's been going on for, weeks at least. Probably, definitely the last few days. But I'm just going to run through this quickly, Jonty, and then I'll come to you for some reaction. I was going to kick off with that Santino Ferrucci news, but I need to really do this one first. And the news is that Sahara Force India are no more. They have been excluded from the 2018 championship and will be replaced by a new team. This is catchy. Racing Point Force India. Following Racing Point UK's acquisition of the team, it has also been confirmed that the team are clear to debut at this weekend's Belgian Grand Prix. And on top of that, Otmar Safenauer, I think I got that right, will take over as team principal and CEO. And earlier today, it was confirmed that Bob Fernley will leave his position as deputy team principal. Let's get the quotes out of the way. An official statement released about half an hour ago or so by Racing Point Force India read the following. The new ownership was finalised on Thursday, the 16th of August, with a consortium of investors led by Lawrence Stroll agreeing terms to secure the future of the team. Racing Point UK Limited has appointed Otmar Safenauer as team principal and CEO with immediate effect. Otmar has been with Force India since 2010 as chief operating officer and has played a pivotal role in the team's progress up the grid. The team's deputy team principal, Bob Fernley, will stand down from his role. The remainder of the senior management team remains unchanged. For the rest of the 2018 season, I've seen a lot of people asking this in chat, the cars will compete as Racing Point Force India F1 team in pink, white and blue. So basically nothing's changed. And Lawrence Stroll added to that statement by saying, on Monday I stood in front of the workforce at Silverstone and Brackley and applauded the achievements of the team in recent years. The strength of any company is the people that make it, and it's a huge privilege to begin this exciting new journey with such a talented group of men and women. I've been fortunate to establish grow a number of successful businesses, but the opportunity to take this team forward to the next level is perhaps the most exciting challenge yet. Together with my fellow shareholders, we will invest new resources and bring fresh energy to empower the workforce to continue racing at the very highest level. We are all passionate about motor racing. We recognise the racer's spirit in Force India, and we are extremely motivated to make this team even more special in the years ahead. I'm nearly there, I promise. Earlier this evening, all the official stuff was confirmed by the FIA. Essentially, they explained that the original team, if you like, have been excluded, and I quote, due to its incapacity to comply with the Article 8.2 of the sporting regulations moving forward and forfeits all Constructors' Championship points under Article 6.2. It was also confirmed that new entry for the team have been accepted. They said a little bit earlier, the FIA has today accepted the mid-season entry of Racing Point Force India, we need a shorter name than that, with immediate effect to the World Championship in accordance with Articles 8.1 and Article 8.2 of the 2018 Formula One sporting regulations. This means the team will race this weekend at the Belgian Grand Prix. Now, as we said yesterday, it was a bit more than just renaming. They are a whole new team, and so start their time in F1 with 0 points. Also, all of those points from Sahara Force India have been null and void, so they don't get to keep any of those, and of course Sahara Force India will no longer be in the championship standings. Last quote, I promise, comes from FIA President Jean Todt. He said, I am very pleased that a strong positive outcome has been reached and welcome the mid-season entry of Racing Point Force India. Creating an environment, try not to laugh, of financial stability in Formula One is one of the key challenges faced by the sport. However, thanks to the hard work of the FIA, the joint administrators, Racing Point and Formula One management, we have a situation now that safeguards the future for all of the highly talented employees and will maintain the fair and regulated championship competition for the second half of the season. So, Jonty, are you glad it's over, mate? It's been going on for ages, this one.
Yeah, it's good to finally get some resolution. And it's also really good to hear that Lawrence Stroll was at the factory at the start of the week before all this came into the public eye. You know, he was putting the team first. That I was very, very pleased to find out.
It's a real positive sign, isn't it? Because there's a lot of people have given the Strolls quite a lot of stick over this, and are they really in it for the team, or is it just for getting Lance a seat? But clearly, based on all of what he said, and as you said, there being at the factory, they're in it for the team, and that is a real positive. And I think we need to give them a chance. I mean, do you reckon to the name? I mean, I read something from Crofton. I did retweet it. He says that from what he understands, it's Crofty, so we don't know, the name will change next season. So this is just to get them to the end of the year. Basically, it sounds like just to get them in for Belgium.
Yeah, that's pretty much what all this is. The livery and the name is just to get through what's left, and they can really start afresh in Australia next year.
It's been a long road. I mean, I'm just so glad that they're going to be on the grid next year. This is the thing, we have lost a team, but we haven't really, if that makes sense. And I think it's right. Some people are really not happy that they lost their championship points, but I agree that they should. They are a new team and it's 0 points. Everybody comes into the sport with 0, so that's only fair. A little bit disappointed they're not going to get any championship money for a couple of years, though, regardless of what they do. But some people are giving them some stick now because they're bottom of the constructors, but I'm going to say confidently predict, John T, that by the end of this weekend they won't be bottom of the constructors championship.
No, it really would be highly unlikely unless they have some massive engine drama. They're not going to be last in constructors come the end of Sunday.
That's something, actually. Thank you for reminding me, John T. I wanted to say this because a few people had asked me about engines and what this means. Do they get to reset? Do they get 3 engines to the end of the season? The answer to that, according to Luke Smith, who's part of CrashNet over on Twitter, is that they will keep their existing allocation as, and this is true because it's how they're listed in the official thing now, it's the same constructor, Force India, Mercedes, so they don't get a new pool of engines. They've got to make do with the ones that they've got, John T. So, I mean, that seems fair. It would have been a bit ridiculous to give them 3 brand spanking new engines to compete for the last 9 races.
Yeah, that would have been a little bit unfair, I think, on all of the other teams. So that does make a lot of sense.
Do you think it's... I've just, sorry, just a tweet coming up there that included me in it, but I'm not going to read that. Do you think this is good for F1 that they've managed to find this resolution? Not quickly, but they've managed to get it all done and save the team? Or could this all have been handled a hell of a lot better and maybe even more quietly than it has been? Because it has been pretty much done in the public eye, hasn't it?
As soon as Rich Energy made their initial tweet, they had no choice but to do it in the public eye. Everyone knew about it. It was never going to be done privately. So they just had to go ahead, get it done. And the speed they got it done has to be commended. Yeah, we could quite easily have been hearing dribs and drabs of news about this, the odd little quote here and there, all the way up, possibly to the end of the year, and only having 9 teams on the grid. So it's a very good thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm just trying to wonder now about drivers. I don't really want to go into too much silly season speculation because it's all we've talked about for the last 4 weeks, quite frankly. But Lance Stroll, it sounds as though he's on for that seat. There are some sources saying that it will be as early as Monza. I'm not convinced by that. I don't know why, but then having said that, Lance Stroll himself has come out today and said that he's not convinced he'll see out the season at Williams. So are we expecting that move sooner rather than later, John T?
Probably sooner. But at the very least, you would think it would happen for the US Grand Prix because that's when they'll have much more opportunity to get their own fans there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, so I can't... Monza, no. I mean, I'm probably going to be wrong. It could all be sorted by Wednesday. We don't know. But I just think Monza, it's a bit of a quick turnaround. I would say the earliest would be Singapore. But, I mean, we're not usually brilliant at this, are we, John, to predicting this sort of thing? So, who knows? But it looked as though Perez was all going to sign, was all done and dusted, so he may well stay. But a lot of people, or some talk out there today, that Ocon will be kept on instead of Perez. But I'm almost certain, as much as I like Esteban Ocon, it will be Stroll and Perez in that team. If not come the end of the season, certainly for 2019.
Oh, absolutely. For 2019, that's virtually guaranteed.
Yeah, and I think I tweeted it earlier. I put it out this morning. There was something in the German publication that said that if Stroll goes to... Oh, now can I get this right? Stroll goes to Force India or whatever they're called in for Monza, that would see Kubica take his place at Williams and Ocon in to the McLaren. Now, I don't know where the German publication I'm talking about. I don't know where they get the information from, because I can't imagine that McLaren have turned around to Stoffel and said, this is your last weekend, mate, we're putting Ocon in that car in a couple of weeks.
No, I can't see that happening. There's been a hell of a lot of speculation, even from sort of reputable people who will be around the paddock and hear snippets of what's going on. But I get the feeling, apart from maybe Stroll and Ocon switching, things will probably stay pretty similar to the end of the year.
It'd be good for stability, wouldn't it, if they can try and keep things as they are as long as possible. But it's going to be an interesting few weeks. I mean, the team's saved. We've got a new team on the grid. A lot of people have been talking about wanting a new team. Not entirely sure this is what they meant, but we have absolutely got one, and that's all sorted. The team is safe. All those jobs are secure. Drivers are secure as well to a point, and that's the most important thing. So now all the speculation is going to be the driver market, but we're not going to get too much into that because we could go on forever, and it's going to be a little bit short. It's only supposed to be on for 30 minutes tonight, so got quite a bit to get through. But I will get some of your reaction to this point, Stroll, Force, India, Canada thing. I'm sorry, Jonty, there's got to be a catchier name than that for them. They've got to at least abbreviate it or stick with Force India.
Everyone will just call them Force India for the rest of the year until they come up with some other name, like Maple Syrup Racing or something.
Maple Syrup. I can't imagine Crofty sat there on a weekend going Racing Point Force India all the time. So yeah, let's try and be a bit more polite in chat, please, peeps. We don't do trolling. If you do troll, you'll be gone pretty quickly. So yep, I'll remove that one. Mods are here to do a job. If you don't like it, don't watch. Sorry if that sounds really harsh, but that's the kind of mood I'm in today. We've not even got onto the second story yet, Jonty. This will be good. It has to be Ocon if they want to keep their Mercedes engines for next year. As the new constructor next year, Mercedes would have no obligation to provide engines next year without an incentive, says Alex Clark Thompson. That's an interesting... I didn't know that, Jonty. I don't know if you know anything on that, but that's an interesting point.
I hadn't thought about that, but it does make sense now it's mentioned. You would assume that any contractual obligations are now null and void because Force India as an entity no longer exists.
Yeah.
Very good point.
We will dig on that one, Alex. Thank you very much for that. I love it when we get questions like that. Will Racing Point Force India be able to take back into 6th place in the Constructors? They need that money. Well, as you know, I like to do question of the day. There is a card on screen now under the little eye. If you click on that and vote, the question is quite simply, where will Racing Point finish this year? The options are 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, or higher. So get voting on there, and I'll do the results towards the end of the stream. And if you are watching the comments, pop down there what you think on that one. One more on this one before we move on to the Ferrucci stuff. Racing Point Series, what kind of name is that? I think, as we were saying, it is just a case of getting them sorted for Belgium so they can actually go racing for the end of the season. So I think that's... sorry, it's going to block you. Nice and easy. Yeah, just having... I thought I saw a question there a second ago, but I don't think I did... Maybe 7th or 8th, says Max. I think Alex Afro said on Twitter a bit ago that he reckons 6th is possible, 7th at the worst. I would say that's probably about right, to be honest, Jonty, thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, beating Williams is going to be pretty easy. McLaren also seems like it's going to be pretty easy. It's just a case of whether they can overhaul the slightly that Sauber and Renault have got. Well, no, Sauber and Haas, because Renault are getting stronger again.
Before we move on to this point, Christos says Sean is middle-aged. I really hope I'm not middle-aged, because I'm not going to be here much longer if that's the case. That's not good. That's not very good innings. But anyway, let's not go too depressive on that one. Santino Ferrucci. Yes, that guy. We need to talk about him. Just take a deep breath, Jonty, before we get onto it. I'll do the news first. This will get ranty. If you missed our stream on it before, then yeah, it's going to get a little bit bad. But Haas have confirmed today that Santino Ferrucci will be kept, I nearly said the wrong name, will be kept on at the team as a part of their young driver programme. Yep, that's right. Ferrucci deliberately crashed into his teammate Arjun Maini earlier this season on the cool-down lap at Silverstone and was also punished for driving with just one glove on and holding his phone behind the wheel between paddocks. That's behind the wheel of a racing car, by the way. And at the time, Trident described his actions towards his teammate off-track as unsportsmanlike and, above all, uncivilised behaviour. For whatever reason, money I can only assume, he was given a drive in IndyCar, and Haas, after weeks of deliberation, have decided to keep him on as well. Gunther Steiner, a man I had a lot of respect for, said the following: "I think we'll keep him for the time being on the programme. We'll see what he's going to do in IndyCar and stay with that one." The guy is trying to make a career, and we don't want to pull the rug from under his feet. Quite frankly, John T, I understand the guy's trying to make a career, but should he not have thought about that before he went down that road and acted like a complete and total moron, frankly?
Yeah, it's in the official statements, it's labelled as unsportsmanlike and bullying behaviour, but there are multiple accounts from Trident themselves, Arjun Maini, where he was mocking his accent, skin colour, appearance, and that of his father, which, sorry, that's not unsportsmanlike behaviour. That's racism, actually.
See, we talked about this, didn't we, a few weeks back, and I said my concern was this was going to come down to, on the racism side of it and what was going on in the paddock, as Maini's word against Ferrucci's, and in some ways it could have come down to that, but I keep thinking back and reading these statements and going over it all again. I've been doing it this afternoon. Trident will have had to have some evidence to use that against him as a reason to get rid of him. So if the evidence is there, what the hell are Haas doing? I mean, Haas have got a lot of respect this year from a lot of people. I've been bigging him up all year. I'm a big fan of Gunther Steiner, and it's not so much, well, it is that they've kept him, but to come out and try and say, you know, the guy's trying to make a career, let's be nice, give him a second chance. It's not anybody else's fault. He was the one that opened his gob. He was the one that was stupid enough to do that behind the wheel of a racing car. Get lost. If you want to go off to IndyCar, that's absolutely fine. If the team you've taken on are happy with your actions, that's up to them. I'd imagine it involved a big fat check, to be honest, Jonty. But anyway, that's fine. But I can't get my head around it. It's baffled me today. Absolutely threw me when I read that this morning.
Yeah, for all of the messages that we get from the team and from Gene Haas himself going on about doing the right thing, you know, sticking by Grosjean because he's loyal and it's the right thing to do, to then go and basically put out the message saying that as a team, we're okay with this kind of stuff. That's fine. You know, he's just a kid. No, it's not good enough.
Well, this is it, isn't it? They don't have to come out and say the words "we support him," but this effectively, people are going to draw that conclusion from these actions. You can't, especially nowadays, you can't hide anywhere from the press and the media. People are going to find stuff out. So I can't understand the reasoning. I've seen a couple in chat saying he's an American driver. That's the only reason they can think of, and that may well be it. But I'm pretty sure Alexander Rossi, is he American?
Yep.
So if they need a driver somewhere in the team, somebody like that would surely do. And I think of some of the drivers that Haas have got on their books and they've had in the past. They've had Charles Leclerc in that car and Esteban Gutierrez. Gutierrez an all right driver, Leclerc a big star of the future, and then they're bothering to waste their time with people like this. And it's put my back up. My back was already up today, but it's really, really put my back up. And I still cannot, American driver aside, understand unless Ferrucci's lot have paid a nice big fat check to them as well. I can't see why they'd want to keep him on, because this just tarnishes the whole name. And I've seen it in chat, Jonty. A lot of people, it's been on social media as well, have lost a hell of a lot of respect for the team and Gunther Steiner today.
Yeah, they really have to think about the image that they're portraying for themselves. Everyone, I've seen two people say, maybe just they're trying not to get involved directly by saying we're just keeping him in the program until the end of the year or whatever. It's just not a good image to put out. Virtually everyone is giving them a lot of hassle about this. And the biggest problem is that they are not responding themselves. Even when people like, I can't remember who it was, but, recognized, well-known people around the paddock, actual, I hate to use the word, but celebrity names in Formula One, calling them out for it, and they're not saying a word. This is all coming from sort of official media outlets as opposed to Haas themselves. Why not just put out a tweet, trying to put it to bed. Even if people don't agree with it, at least they are standing behind what they're deciding to do.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. But even if it's just to say, look, we haven't had any evidence to say that he did do this, so he served his punishment for the thing that the FIA or whatever punished him for. So until we have any evidence, then we're sticking by him. Then you wouldn't accept it and you wouldn't be happy, but you kind of go, well, if they haven't got the evidence, there's nothing they can do. But Trident had to have had something to come out and say what they said. Otherwise, maybe going a bit far, then they could be taken to court for defamation.
Yeah, exactly. Trident were very, very professional and clever in the way that they dealt with it, because the public statements that they put out were very, very specifically worded to say that we have our lawyers involved and are looking into the ways to deal with the situation. They didn't come out and say anything publicly about the details. They just went down the legal route. Very, very smart. So obviously they have got actual evidence, witnesses, whatever, in order to take it to that point. And if they didn't have, you absolutely must be certain that Ferrucci and his father would have been very public going against it. So you're quite right. Haas could just come out and say, look, the evidence hasn't been presented to us. As far as we know, it's just the he's a young guy, he can learn from that. So why haven't they?
Yeah, this is what I can't... I mean, they're going to have their reasons, but we've just both said it, haven't we? Come out and give us your reasons. Do we have a right to know? Not really. It's not really anything to do with us. We're fans of the sport. We don't really want to see him there because of his actions. But at the end of the day, they are more than... It's within their rights to keep that in-house. But at the same time, just to shut people up, because the big... As you've already said, the big media outlets are all reporting on this and are all kicking up quite a fuss. And that's going to be a bigger issue than me sat here on an F1 Daily and you sat here giving our criticism. So the team have been dragged through the mud on this one, and I can't understand what they're going to gain from it, again, unless a lot of money is exchanged hands, which makes him look even worse, quite frankly. So I just can't believe they've gone down that road. I really thought, I suspected that something was going to happen like this because they didn't deal with it straight away, because they waited until after the summer break to come out as well. When you think back, knowing what we know now, think back to when he turns around effectively and says, we're far too busy to deal with this at the moment. We'll sort it out after the summer break. You just had a 4-week summer break. The first week of that, you could have got rid of him. The last week of it, you could have got rid of him. But you've decided to keep him.
Yeah, put it simply, no reasonable and decent person would keep him.
It's an odd one. I'm going to go to chat for... I don't know what else to say other than I just can't believe it. But then, as I just said there, a little bit me thinks, well, actually, when we look back to this last few weeks, something's obviously gone on. Thank you very much to Woo Deadco. Oh, come on, Sean. Read it properly. But anyway, thank you very much for your contribution, mate. I'm crap with names. Says, opinion, please. If Renault, a team looking to fight for wins soon, can't finish fourth this year, can we write them off altogether for the future? From my experience, John T, and I've got a feeling you're going to say something similar, we can't write anybody off for the future because, and I know it's a bit of a lame example to give, but Brawn didn't exist until about a month before the season started and they won the title. So you can never rule anybody out, can you, John T?
Oh, no, absolutely not. There's always that chance that any designer, when there are rule changes, is going to find some clever little trick, some little loophole in the rules that is going to get them massive, massive gains. Like you mentioned, Brawn, someone came up with the double diffuser. It was dominant. It took half the year for the rest of the teams to cotton on and make their own version. By that point, it was too late. So you really can't say what's going to happen in the future. And also, as it stands, that future's only 2 years because we don't know the future after that.
Exactly. Thank you very much as well to Jonathan Alvarado. I think I might have got that right for once. Thank you very much for your contribution, mate. Really do appreciate that. Clatter says, this decision has me disappointed. There's always one. I mean, you said hassle, Jonty, and you got some stuff for that in the chat, but I think it's got a lot of people very disappointed. Let's have a quick scroll through. Will Russell, and we'll come to those sort of questions probably at the weekend when we've got a bit more time. If Cubits replace Stroll, Ferrucci doesn't even deserve to be in IndyCar, in my opinion, says Jeremy Pope. I don't even think he's that good a driver. And a couple of others saying they're quite embarrassed for Haas.
Yeah, I mean, the other point that I was thinking about was it can be seen slightly less bad for IndyCar because it's an internal series. It's just in America, or if it was British touring cars, just in Britain, DTM, just F2, F1. These are global series. This is a global image and message that will be seen everywhere. It's a lot easier to deal with in your own back garden, but when it's everywhere, you've really got to think about what people will think of you.
Yeah. That's a very good point. So I was having to think that's a very good point, John T. We're going to move on to the last point because it was supposed to be only half an hour. And I think we're going to overrun slightly, but we'll try not to be too long on this one. Fernando Alonso, he apparently, depends on who you're listening to, turned down an offer from Red Bull for 2019. He told Sky in an interview, which I've not actually seen, I've just had to take the quotes from the website, said that from one of the top 3 teams, I already had an offer a couple of times already this year. It was not the case for me to join that adventure, At the moment, F1 is not giving me the challenges I am looking for. He was then asked outright if it was Red Bull, to which he said yes. Now, Red Bull have obviously come out and denied this, Jonty, but come on. If you want to be up there challenging for podiums and wins and Red Bull come along knocking, you're mad not to take it.
Yeah, I could reading. Seriously, you get a chance at one of the top 3 teams and you turn it down? No, that's crazy talk.
If that's true, which Red Bull are saying it isn't, but of course they're going to say it isn't. They're not going to say that it is, are they? So I'd be very, very surprised if that was a case. He says it's not giving him the challenges he wants at the moment, and he wants to go off and try something else, which I can kind of understand. But then if you're then saying in another breath that you might come back, which of course in a press conference today, he's actually said that he feels like he's saying goodbye to Formula One this year, but you effectively never know what's going to happen in the future. If he wants to come back to Formula One and he's rejecting teams like Red Bull now, they're not going to pick him up in 2020, are they? Because he's even older then, and he's had a year out of the sport.
Exactly. By going out, he's just lowering his stock. So if you've got that chance, you surely should take it.
I'm coming to it, chat. Don't worry. Is this less I don't want to race for Red Bull and more I don't want to race for Honda?
It would sound like that. That would make the most sense. Although, to be honest, I think if it was me, I'd be Honda saying, no, we don't want him, based on the last 3 years.
Yeah, because you can understand his frustration with them, but he tore them to pieces, didn't he? So why would you want, from a PR point of view, to then go along and take on a guy that's slating you left, right, and centre? And I'm not convinced. I've seen a couple in chat say it as well. They think it's rubbish. I'm not convinced. Red Bull are never going to admit that they do it. Maybe Christian Horner, who releases his book in a few years, will do, but they're never going to say they did. Fernando Alonso's going to say that they did, and it's you did it on Twitter, John T, which was brilliant. It looked like a call for help, to be perfectly honest. You put, yes, no, yes. It's one of those situations. I mean, do you think it's rubbish, or do you think there is a little bit of truth in there?
I'd be inclined to say it was rubbish. I'd say it would be more likely that he contacted them and they said, well, maybe we'll have a chat about something, just to be polite, with no intention of ever taking him. And then he's come out and said that, and by seeing it a different way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd agree with that one. We're going to leave it there, though, Jonty, because I don't want to run too much longer, because I try to keep these to 30 minutes when we're not on a Wednesday. So, but I'm going to ask you, because I've asked everybody else, and if you haven't voted, make sure you hit that I in the top right of the screen as to where you think Racing Point will finish this season. If you were guessing as of right now, Jonty, bearing in mind they've got exactly the same car, chassis, everything, where do you think they'll finish in the Constructors?
7th.
7th? Yeah, I can see. Toro Rosso aren't really improving, are they? Sauber are doing quite well, though. But yeah, Force India were outscoring them quite a bit. So yeah, I would say around about 7th. But I'll do their results in a minute, mate. But thank you very much for joining me for this one. I needed somebody to help me through that Ferrucci stuff. It's a pleasure as always, and I will talk to you again very soon.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to get that off my chest as well. So thanks, folks. I'll see you next time.
No worries, mate. Cheers. Yep, thank you very much to Jonty. Let's get your results in from this poll then. If you are watching this after the stream has been live, make sure you let me know in the comment section where you think that Racing Point, India, Force, Stroll, Canada are going to be finishing. And I can tell you 10% at 10%. 2% of you think they will finish in 10th. Are you crazy? 10% think 9th, 41% say 8th, 39% 7th, and 6% higher. So you all reckon that 8th place in the Constructors' Championship is where they will finish, but it's very close with 7th. So in and around there, I think, is about right. 6th, I think, will be a bit of a stretch, but if McLaren don't improve, then you just never know. All it takes, remember, in that midfield is one crazy race and somebody could surprise everyone. Renault said that themselves today. Their 4th place could be undone by one crazy race. So that is just how Formula One goes. And I love that side of it. We like those crazy races. Very quickly, then I'll come to you in chat for what you are saying in terms of where they'll finish. Oh, sorry, mate. Somebody just turned up. You've missed quite a bit. We've just been going over the Force India news or the Racing Point Force India news. And Ferrucci, I do apologise. We're just about to finish, mate. But rewind back to the start and we're in there. It's 52 points to catch, says Fire. Absolutely. Ryan says, wow, 8th. Rue says possibly past McLaren. If I was Alonso, I would have slagged Honda too, says April. That's fair enough. As I say, you can understand his frustrations. You can understand his frustrations. So you kind of let him off a little bit, but you can understand from a PR point of view why Honda wouldn't really bother. 7th says Lewis Beer. Please start another 30 minutes earlier. We'll be talking about F1 Daily's future. It's sticking around, don't worry, it's going nowhere, but we'll be discussing timings probably next week at some point because a few people have asked for an earlier time, but it will be put to a vote, which is pointless because it'll end up being 50-50 again and leave me in a mess. You forgot the maple syrup. Yep, 7th for sure, says DN8. Philip Barber says 8th. Crystal Racing, 8th. Christian says 7th place. 8th place, says Alexander. Umar on car says 7th, definitely. Charles is saying 7th as well. I'm not reading that. That meme is getting so boring. It's 6th for... Raul says 6th. Why not? McLaren surprise package in Spa, maybe. Razal says 7th. Yeah, a lot of people, it looks like you're saying between, Sponge is saying 9th, but a lot of you saying between sort of 6th and 8th. I would go 7th, 8th at the worst, but they will be able to turn this around. But anyway, I am overrunning again. Of course, it's one of my streams. I always do it. Thank you very much for tuning in once again to F1 Daily. Now tomorrow, F1 Daily is going to be substantially earlier because I'm out for my mum's birthday. Yeah, I forgot. How bad's that? But anyway, so the stream will be shortly after FP2, probably around 5 p.m. Rather than 8 p.m, but then it will be back to 8 p.m. as from Monday. This weekend, we've got absolutely tons of live streaming coming up for you. We've got, of course, a qualifying report. There might be a qualifying watch-along, but I'm not going to confirm that until Saturday because that's going to come down to some family stuff as well. On Sunday, we've then got the pre-race, the watch-along, the race debrief. The review will be out on Monday. And if you missed it earlier today, the Belgian Grand Prix preview did go up on the channel, so make sure you go and check that out if you are interested. In the meantime, though, you can follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.